Well, good afternoon. 13 News Now meteorologist Evan Stewart here. Thanks for joining us on 13 News Now Plus. We have extended weather coverage because we are under a weather impact alert. It officially goes into effect at 5 o'clock this evening and will run through 11 o'clock because we are tracking a line of some showers and thunderstorms that are going to be moving through. We have some severe weather that is just out towards our west, and we're looking at the potential as we go here into this evening for some gusty winds, thunderstorms that could possibly have an isolated tornado with them, and certainly looking at the potential for some heavy rain. So you want to keep an eye on the forecast, want to keep an eye on the radar. If you have Friday evening plans, again, I know we had a little bit of a short week because of the Memorial Day weekend last weekend, and so this is our first full weekend of the unofficial summer. And I know a lot of folks might have some plans out there this Friday evening. If you have outdoor grilling plans, maybe you're having a birthday dinner outdoors, you'll definitely want to keep an eye on the radar because we are tracking that line of showers and thunderstorms. Here's what it looks like on the regional satellite and radar. Of course, we started the day with some of that rain out here, caused some issues for the morning commute. Most of that heavy rain was gone by about 9 o'clock. And then we saw the sunshine start to break through the clouds. And as we get into May and June and July and into the summertime, when you get a little bit of that sunshine, that sort of fuels the fire for thunderstorms to develop. And already out towards our west, you can see this pink box right here. That is a tornado watch that is in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. Does not include any of Hampton Roads. It is well towards our west. Notice that we have one line of thunderstorms move through Roanoke. That line is pretty much breaking up, but we have a second line that is developing here right now that is just approaching Roanoke and just north of Winston-Salem. So it's that line that we're going to watch as we go here a little bit later on this evening. Now, we have seen a couple of isolated showers popping up here as we have gone through the afternoon. We have a little bit of a shower here over Virginia Beach. We've seen a couple across northeastern North Carolina. And as you can see, just out towards our west, we do have that tornado watch box. That includes Farmville, South Boston, over towards Lynchburg and making its way down towards the Durham area. But right now, no watches, no warnings for our neck of the woods. But we do have the heat, and we especially have the humidity. Now, temperatures have come down a little bit in Norfolk, have a little bit of a northeast breeze coming in. So we're currently sitting in the mid-70s, although you can notice once you move inland, we're into the low 80s right now. It's 81 in Suffolk, 81 Edenton, 80 in Wakefield. That's part of the story. It's also very humid out there, and you know, to get thunderstorms, you need the heat, but you also need that humidity. If the humidity were to be low, you really wouldn't have that fuel for the fire. So it's a combination of the heat and humidity. So these dew points are up into the upper 60s, some 70s out there. Tangier Island, the Edenton hygrometer out there typically runs a little bit high. I don't think we're looking at 74-degree dew points, but we're certainly looking at dew points in the upper 60s. So that, combined with the heat, combined with an approaching cold front, those are all the ingredients that come together to produce that chance for some severe thunderstorms. And the entire area now is under this level 2 risk. That means scattered severe thunderstorms are possible. Can't totally rule out an isolated tornado. We're looking at some strong winds with some of these thunderstorms that could produce some wind damage and the possibility of some hail as well. And just off towards our south and west, down from Rocky Mount over towards Raleigh, you can see some of that orange color there. That's a level 3, meaning numerous severe thunderstorms are possible. And that highest threat for tornadoes does include parts of Hampton Roads. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what this graphic means. You can see we've got these percentages up here, 2%, 5%, 10%. So if you were to take any one point, say Central Chesapeake, say Elizabeth City, Edenton, in that yellow area, that would mean within 25 miles of that one point, there was a 2% chance of a tornado developing and touching down. So again, if we said downtown Ahoskie, there's a 2% that within 25 miles of downtown Ahoskie, you would see that possibility of a tornado. So it's a low risk, it's not zero. Once we start to get here into the orange color, that's a 5%. So now we say Williamsburg, there's a 5% chance that there could be a tornado that touches down within 25 miles of Williamsburg. Again, a little bit higher. Now, when we talk about some of the big severe weather outbreaks, you start to get into these 10, 15, and 30% chances. So it's not as high as a super outbreak like we have seen earlier this spring across areas off towards our west. But again, on a normal day, it's about a 1% chance. So twice as likely that we could see something here in the yellow, and 5 times likely that we could see a tornado developing in this orange area. Again, it's low, but it's not zero. So that's something we're certainly continuing to watch. As far as the strong wind potential, went to that 15% chance. So now You can see that's a little bit higher. So if we were to say Norfolk, there's a 15% chance that within 25 miles we would have a damaging wind gust. And as we get down here towards Rocky Mount and Raleigh, talking about a 30% chance, so a 1 in 3 chance. So that just sort of shows you that, some of the strongest threats are just out towards our west or off towards our north, but certainly that threat is there for some of these stronger thunderstorms. And as far as hail, same idea here in this sort of lighter purple. 5% chance of large hail. That would be hail over an inch in diameter. That's the kind of hail that could produce damage. And once we get here into this sort of darker purple, that's a 15% chance. If we were into the 30 or 45, it certainly could be a little bit more. So I do want to go back and let's just take a look at what things look like across much of the country. So this is what I love about our streaming here is I can just change things on the fly and we can take a look at other areas. Again, you can see down towards our south, really some of those highest levels down through central North Carolina, South Carolina, and into Georgia. That's the general risk, that tornado risk, again, shifted a little bit to the north with the front. You can see that wind, sort of that same general area, almost identical here in this level 3 risk. That's where we're looking primarily at wind and hail. That hail sort of lines up a little bit more with some of these northern storms. So the dynamics are there more for hail in some of the northern areas, while it's the southern areas that have the higher risk for some of those gusty winds. And some of that just has to be because of the colder air that is aloft. We're a little bit farther to the north, so we still have a little bit of some of that cold air in the upper parts of the atmosphere. So zooming back in here, back into that large hail, again, that threat is certainly there. 15% chance that any one spot could see a damaging hail of an inch in diameter within 15 miles. There is also a little bit of a flood threat for the peninsula, middle peninsula, northern neck, and the eastern shore. I think since this line is going to be so fast moving, we're not really going to see that potential for any kind of significant flooding issues. Could be in some of the more urban areas where we have a lot of concrete and then the water can't be absorbed by the ground. It runs into the storm drains down the streets, sidewalks, and things like that. So if you have a lot more concrete, you certainly run the risk of seeing some of those issues with flooding more than, say, some of the rural areas because you have more open land and the land and can absorb some of that water. Concrete is impervious. It can't absorb it, so that creates the potential for some of that flooding. So let's talk about the timing here with Futurecast. This is 7 o'clock this evening. This is a model that we call the HRRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh Model. It updates every hour, so it's constantly getting new information. And this sort of shows what this model is thinking. Again, we started at 5 o'clock for our weather impact alert. There could be a couple of isolated showers of thunderstorms in the areas we've already seen, but it's sort of this Boeing line. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be exactly here, just west of Petersburg, but it sort of sets up that stage. And anytime you start to see that backwards C here, that indicates some thunderstorms that have the potential of having some gusty winds. That's those winds, those outflow, sort of pushing those storms. So again, this is one model's interpretation of what might happen. Again, this could be a little bit farther to the north, south, east, west, a little bit faster, a little bit slower, but this sort of gives you that general idea of that line moving through. And this model says that, once we head past sunset, the threat starts to become a little bit more reduced. Here's through 9 o'clock. Still see some heavier downpours and some gusty winds possible. And most of this line should be starting to clear the coast of Virginia by 11 o'clock tonight and just after midnight or so down across North Carolina. So again, a brief period there. We're saying 5 to 11. It might be more like 7 to 11. So we go through the evening, 7 in some of our western spots, 11 o'clock right along the coastline, maybe through midnight for North Carolina. But by tomorrow morning, things are nice and clear. Looking at winds out of the west at 20 miles per hour, temperatures right around 60 degrees as you wake up. If you get up early on Saturday morning, if you're sleeping in, it'll be a little bit warmer as we go into the afternoon. Temperatures up into the upper 70s, near 80 degrees. Mainly dry through about the middle part of the afternoon, but we do have the potential once again tomorrow for a few thunderstorms. Tomorrow we're under a level 1 risk of just a general threat for severe weather, and you can see Futurecast does call for another line of some showers and thunderstorms on Saturday evening. So if you have plans tomorrow, we're not under a weather impact alert. It doesn't look like it's going to be nearly as widespread or the potential to be quite as strong, but we could see a few of those thunderstorms pushing through tomorrow evening. And then things really start to clear out nicely as we head into Sunday. And finally, this wet pattern is going to break. And it has been a wet pattern over the past week or so. Not everybody has seen rain every day, but we certainly see the rain across parts of Hampton Roads. And notice by Sunday, Again, plentiful sunshine, high temperatures up into the mid to upper 70s. So breaking down that weekend forecast a little more specifically, 61 for tonight, 79 tomorrow, partly cloudy, some of those afternoon thunderstorms. And then as we get into the day on Sunday, we're looking at a mostly sunny day and a pretty beautiful day. So let's go back, take a look again at the satellite and the radar. And I want to go ahead and give you a look first again at those temperatures. Right now we're sitting in the upper 70s, a few spots into the low 80s right now. It's 81 in Suffolk, 81 in Edenton. And we'll do a little bit of radar analysis here. Take a look at live radar and a little bit of ground clutter showing up right around the radar site. Have a couple of little showers that have popped up here through Virginia Beach, a couple right along the state line there you can see in Suffolk down through Gates County. And this is the loop of the last 3 hours. I was tracking a few of these showers earlier this morning down through parts of northeastern North Carolina. Again, we've seen a couple of these isolated, quick little moving showers, but most of the activity so far today has certainly been out towards our west. Now, as we head out towards the west, you can see some big thunderstorms here from Rockingham, just east of Charlotte, west of Fayetteville, up through Asheboro and heading over towards Winston-Salem and Greensboro. And then out here, out towards our west as we head towards Radford and Blacksburg and Roanoke, you can see we have some severe thunderstorm warnings out in those areas. And earlier we had some of these thunderstorm warnings that had a tornado signature on them. So they were officially severe thunderstorm warnings with the tornado possible tag moving out of Kentucky into West Virginia. Probably why we have that tornado watch as opposed to a severe thunderstorm watch. But here you can see out towards Botetourt, Craig, Montgomery, and Roanoke counties, and Roanoke and Salem. We have that warning that runs until 3:45, and then a little bit farther to the south here, we get into Carroll, Floyd, Henry, Montgomery, Patrick, Pulaski, and Roanoke counties. We have that severe thunderstorm warning that includes Galax and Radford over towards Laurel Fork and Indian Valley. That warning is until 4 o'clock. So again, these storms, this is the main line that we'll be watching to move eastward, still well out towards our west. Ahead of that line, yeah, there are a couple other showers that are popping up here from Dillwyn down towards Farmville, Keysville, over towards South Boston, approaching Interstate 85. And then again, a few of those thunderstorms down towards Raleigh. We were mentioning right there around Asheboro along 73. That's where the North Carolina Zoo is there in Asheville. Bisco and approaching the Sandhills here of North Carolina over towards Southern Pines and Sanford. And a few showers and thunderstorms here. I mentioned up around Durham along Interstate 85 over towards 40, making your way over towards Chapel Hill as well, and a couple of showers here just west of Raleigh. So we have one line that'll move through in the next few hours, and again, it is producing a couple of these isolated showers here, a few more that have just been popping up through parts of Southampton County and the Northampton County, but it's really that main line. And I'll switch here and add on all the radars. So we can sort of see a little bit of a bigger picture here of what's going on. You can see up into West Virginia, we have a line of some strong thunderstorms here from Beaver towards Burnsville, approaching Elkins, and just getting ready to move into the mountains of Virginia. So there is that line, and this is the line that we'll be watching a little bit later on this evening. So there'll likely be a couple of lines of showers that move through, but it's this second line that's going to approach here through 7 to 11 o'clock tonight that'll have the potential for producing some of those stronger thunderstorms. So back towards our area again, atmosphere is pretty much prime. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s, those dew points in the 60s. We are under that level 2 risk, meaning scattered severe thunderstorms are possible. Level 3 risk down across North Carolina, just outside of our area. And as I mentioned, we do have that severe thunderstorm watch that is posted here from Raleigh down towards Charlotte, and the tornado watch that is out here towards Roanoke. And again, it's with that second line that I was mentioning that we're going to be tracking. So coming up here at 4 o'clock, so within another 45 minutes, we'll have 13 News Now at 4. Of course, that'll be streaming here, of course, on 13 News Now Plus. Of course, we'll be on air. Tim and I will be covering these thunderstorms, and then we'll be watching them as they move through this evening. So we do have plans. If we do see severe weather moving through Hampton Roads, we'll be here on 13 News Now Plus streaming throughout the evening as long as that threat is there. The good news is by tomorrow, things will be improved. Another chance for a few thunderstorms later into the day, and we'll finally break this whole overall pattern. And let me go ahead and jump here, just sort of give you a quick little look, a preview of that 7-day forecast here. So over the next 5 days, another chance of some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, 79 degrees. But by Sunday, June 1st, 78, mostly sunny. Lots of sunshine here on Monday, 78, 85 Tuesday, 88 on Wednesday, and by Thursday, looking at high temperatures up near 90 degrees. Same thing on Friday with that heat and humidity, a slight chance of a shower, thunderstorm developing. But again, we are looking at some hot weather moving in for the first full week of June. Again, I'll be back here at 4 o'clock for 13 News Now at 4, and Tim will be in for 5, 5:30, and 6, and then both of us will be here throughout the evening as long as that severe threat continues.